Hey detectives! Welcome back. We've got another mysterious case to explore. The case of Sabrina Zunich. Sabrina was born on October 27, 1994, in Cleveland, Guyana, USA, to parents Susan Edwards and Mark Zunich. Due to her parents' antisocial behavior, she was raised by her paternal grandmother starting at age 3. At 4, Sabrina was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, stemming from a nervous system issue. As she grew older, Sabrina struggled to manage her impulses. Her frequent outbursts led to conflicts with peers and fights at school. As a result of her aggressive behavior, she was placed in an orphanage managed by the Department of Children's Services of Lake County when she was 14 years old. After spending 2 years there, she was adopted by the Knopf family in 2011 at the age of 16 and moved to their home in suburban Cleveland. Lisa Knopf, Sabrina's adoptive mother, was a caring woman who loved children and aimed to support those in need. Born on May 2, 1971, in Reynoldsburg to Clark and Rita, Lisa relocated to Lake County in 2000. There, she built a family with her husband Kevin Knopf and became a mother to 2 daughters, Megan, the oldest, and Haley, the youngest. Lisa worked as a social worker in juvenile services and eventually opened her own orphanage, leading to her adoption of Sabrina. Joining the Knopf family positively impacted Sabrina. As a high school student, she became focused on her studies and started achieving good grades. She also began to envision her future and confided in her adoptive parents about her dreams of becoming a model and studying cosmetology. Lisa and Kevin were thrilled with Sabrina's transformation and noted her strong relationships with them and their daughters. A close bond developed between Lisa and Sabrina, to the extent that family and friends often remarked that they looked like sisters. Sabrina admired Lisa greatly, viewing her as a role model and an older sister. However, this ideal family life was short-lived. 6 months after Sabrina's arrival, she suddenly accused Lisa of not loving her and of favoring her biological daughters. While Sabrina and Lisa's relationship evolved, a unique bond also formed between Sabrina and Kevin. Their interactions began to appear unusual, with conversations and jokes that resembled those of a romantic couple rather than a father and daughter. On October 27, 2012, Sabrina turned 18, which legally meant she was expected to start an independent life away from her foster family. Nevertheless, she requested permission from her adoptive parents to stay and finish her high school education. Then, on November 16 of the same year, around 1 a.m., Sabrina took a knife, entered Lisa's bedroom, and approached her bed. For 15 minutes, she silently watched Lisa sleep before attacking her with a 10-inch serrated kitchen knife. Lisa awoke to the first stabs and screamed, which alerted her 13-year-old daughter, Megan. In a state of panic, Megan called emergency services, crying that her sister was hurting their mother. Law enforcement officers who arrived at the scene found Sabrina with several superficial cuts on her body, still holding the knife she used to attack Lisa. She was lying on the floor, seemingly in shock, but she complied with the officers' requests to drop the weapon and put her hands behind her head. While she did not resist arrest, Sabrina refused to answer any questions at the police station. Meanwhile, officers searched the house and found Lisa's youngest daughter locked in a closet. That night, Kevin, the girl's father, was away on a business trip as a truck driver. He learned about the incident involving his wife from a call from the police just minutes after it happened. Kevin called 911 to check on his daughter's well-being and was informed he could pick them up at the police station. When he arrived the next day, officers noted how calm Kevin appeared. They expected him to be devastated, but he seemed unbothered. He took his daughters without asking questions and left, which alarmed the police and worried his relatives and friends. They couldn't understand how he could remain so calm after such a tragedy. Soon after, Kevin went to jail, trying to get permission to talk to Sabrina, who was being held. His calm demeanor faded when he became angry after being denied the chance to see his adopted daughter, and he returned home in a bad mood. The brutal crime caught the attention of local media. Investigators in Lake County discovered that the victim had suffered 178 stab wounds, including to the head, neck, torso, and limbs. Although it was clear to investigators who the killer was, they still had questions about the motive for the crime. For the next 10 months, detectives focused on piecing together the details of the case. The police were also concerned about the relationship between Sabrina and Kevin. During initial interviews with potential witnesses, it emerged that Sabrina, a social worker, had confided to a friend that she had allowed Kevin to take nude photos of her for money. A week before the murder, Kevin contacted Sabrina to tell her he and his wife were considering divorce but wanted to retain custody of their adopted daughter. Additionally, one of Sabrina's friends informed investigators that in early October 2012, Kevin had asked her to find a hitman. This led police to suspect that Kevin was involved in planning the murder. Investigators found that Kevin had taken out 2 insurance policies on his wife's life for $800,000, doing so just hours after her death. Following her murder, he made numerous purchases. Initially, Sabrina denied any involvement on Kevin's part, but after 9 months in detention, she felt that her adoptive father was unaware of her situation and agreed to cooperate with investigators. In August 2013, she accused Kevin of planning Lisa's murder and shared specific details about their illicit affair. Sabrina explained that her adoptive mother was killed because of her love for Kevin and her unwillingness to share him. Their affair began in March 2012 when Kevin returned home exhausted from driving long hours. He mentioned his sore legs, and Sabrina offered to massage his feet. From that point on, their mutual attraction grew, and by September of that year, they had become regular sexual partners. Sabrina asserted that Lisa never suspected their affair because they were cautious. Kevin often texted Sabrina, expressing that he no longer loved Lisa and wanted to start anew with her. He shared his plan to create a better life together and promised that the money from the insurance company would allow them to buy a house and a car, suggesting that Sabrina could take Lisa's place as a mother to his daughters. Sabrina insisted she didn't want to harm her adoptive mother and suggested that Kevin simply get a divorce. However, Kevin argued that if he did so, Lisa would likely keep him away from his daughters. He even made a joke, suggesting that Lisa's death would be financially more beneficial. As a result, they began to consider murder, deciding that Sabrina would kill Lisa with a knife and steal some jewelry to make it look like a failed robbery. Kevin purchased a knife for the murder and trained Sabrina on how to deal a fatal blow. He also instructed her that if she was arrested, she should act mentally unstable. Later, Sabrina recounted what led to the murder. On the morning of November 15th, the day before the incident, Kevin suddenly stopped the car while driving her to school, broke down in tears, and recounted a terrible argument with Lisa. He mentioned contemplating suicide if Lisa remained alive. Concerned for Kevin's well-being, Sabrina felt compelled to take Lisa's life. Investigators reviewed Sabrina's statement and decided to arrest Kevin. On August 9, 2013, the 43-year-old widower was taken into custody, facing charges of conspiracy to commit aggravated murder and being an accessory to the crime. Sabrina agreed to testify against him in exchange for the possibility of parole after 30 years. The trial began in May 2014, with prosecutor Patrick Candon asserting that no one doubted who committed the murder. However, he emphasized that Kevin was deeply involved, as he had helped plan the crime. When Sabrina testified, she confessed to her affair with Kevin and detailed the murder plot, claiming it was Kevin's idea and that she acted out of love for him, wanting to spare him from suffering. To highlight Sabrina's behavior post-murder, the prosecution called witnesses from the investigation, including a police officer who encountered Kevin the day after the murder. The officer noted that Kevin appeared surprisingly calm. They also heard from Lisa's colleagues, one of whom, Erica Gator, stated that when she visited Kevin the day after the murder with food for him and his daughters, he acted very casually and exhibited no emotions during Lisa's funeral. Additionally, witnesses from insurance companies testified that Kevin had called them on the morning of the murder to inquire about the documents needed for insurance claims, which he had taken out shortly before Lisa's death. The Lake County Medical Examiner also testified about the numerous severe injuries Lisa sustained, highlighting two that were likely fatal: a deep wound to the jaw that severed the carotid artery and another to the chest. He noted the extensive number of wounds suggested that Lisa had fought for her life for several minutes. Investigators did not provide copies of the text messages between Sabrina and Kevin. However, they reported that the couple exchanged 1,491 messages and made 78 calls from November 1 to November 16, 2012. Kevin's lawyer, Kevin Michael Connick, argued that Sabrina should be deemed solely responsible for Lisa's murder because there was no physical evidence proving she and Kevin were lovers. Additionally, there were no text messages indicating a plot to kill Lisa. The prosecution relied mainly on Sabrina's testimony, which later helped her receive a reduced sentence. The lawyer maintained that Kevin should be acquitted since the charges against him were unfounded. He claimed that Sabrina killed her adoptive mother not at Kevin's behest but because Lisa demanded she leave the house by January 1, 2013. Kevin did not testify in court. After a 9.5-hour hearing on June 11, a jury convicted him on all 11 counts. On August 6, 2014, Judge Joseph Gibson sentenced him to life in prison, allowing for parole in 30 years. Kevin will be eligible for parole in 2044 when he is 73 years old. The defense has announced plans to appeal the verdict, aiming to present expert testimony regarding Sabrina's mental health issues, which they argue led her to commit the murder alone. Following her testimony about the murder of her adoptive mother, Sabrina was charged with premeditated murder with aggravating circumstances. Her lawyer, Charles Graves, indicated that she would plead guilty, which Sabrina confirmed during the August 2014 hearing. On September 29, 2014, 19-year-old Sabrina Tuning was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years, making her eligible for parole in 2042 when she is 47 years old. After the verdict, Sabrina broke down in tears. The judge explained that her opportunity for parole was granted because of her cooperation with investigators, although he acknowledged that Kevin had manipulated her for his own ends. However, the judge stated that her actions exceeded his initial plans. Additionally, the judge ordered Lisa's two daughters to receive $6 million in compensation. Sabrina is currently serving a 28-year sentence at the Dayton Correctional Facility, a women's prison in Ohio established in 1987.